Hello and welcome back to the Abridged Belgium campaign. Last time we suffered a couple of defeats against the Germans, one due to glitches and one due to an ambush. But while that was going on, we also captured Rome from Italy, so now we just have to sit in that for a while our main force gets ready to go and public order resolves, and in the meantime we defeated one of the German armies up near Torino. I waited a couple of turns, and then, for some reason, the Austro-Hungarians came down from the north and attacked Torino. They've been doing some sneaky manoeuvre through the Alps, apparently. But also, while I've been waiting, I've been recruiting loads of conscripts at Rome. That means I'm free to move a few units away from the city without it rebelling or anything like that. And a few units is all we need to continue our offensive, because the next town down the road, Naples, is only defended by garrison units. That's just going to be loads of citizenry, and a few actual units should be more than enough to deal with that. So we begin our stroll, and next turn we'll be able to attack. We'll also want to deal with that Austro-Hungarian army, and there are some Italian armies that have set up in the general Torino-Milan area as if they might attack, but I have little faith in the AI, so I am pretty much ignoring them, to the extent that while we possibly could defeat that Austro-Hungarian army with just a couple of units already at Torino, I'm going to cancel our defence of the bridge to Milan, assume the Italians won't bother to walk across it, and use this army to attack the Austro-Hungarians next turn. And here we are in the next turn, so yes, the Italians did not go and attack us or anything like that. I was considering not attacking Naples until next turn so that they could finish building something for me, but I thought no, let's just take it now, we don't really need that building anyway. So yes, they've just got loads of the citizen units which don't get any presence on the balance bar, so our little army can just auto-resolve them to death for minimal losses, and bang, we've instantly taken Naples. I thought public order could be a problem because our army's a bit small, but looks like things are okay. I'm going to repair up that military building there, which is the wrong thing to do actually, because the military bases give you a public order penalty, and a quite big one, so once I repair that, people will get angry. But look at this, we now control pretty much the entire Italian peninsula. We don't have Venice at the top, but aside from that, Italy has fallen to Belgium. The next thing we'll want to do is take Sicily, and a bit of scouting reveals it's equally undefended, so we just need to wait for some public order things to improve, get a couple of units together at some point, and we'll take that as well. Going to celebrate our victory by increasing taxes on the poor. I was redistributing the wealth by the looks of things. We are Marxist socialist after all. Next we need to get rid of that Austro-Hungarian army at Torino, and our reinforcements arrive to do just that. It's a pretty bad balance bar because the enemy has loads of artillery. In fact, they're mostly artillery, which in the game's logic makes them really strong, but in reality makes them weak, because if we defeat the infantry, then the rest of it should be easy. We were able to deploy right in front of the enemy. I'm not sure why I deployed some of my men on top of the bunker there. The rest of them are in trenches, as you might expect. So yes, we can deploy already able to attack the enemy. The problem I have is that I think the bunker, in a surprisingly intelligent move, didn't fire at first. It wasn't firing because it's stuck inside one of my other units. The limited avoiding friendly fire AI appears to be functioning. It stops me killing my own men, even though I would have been fine to kill my own men in that scenario to fire at the enemy. Anyway, eventually everyone gets out of the way and the fighting starts. The enemy only have 3 units of infantry here, but all of them are running right towards the bunker. That could be a big problem. I find a good line to fire along that will hit all 3 of the enemy units at once, but can we kill them quick enough? Well, we do, just about. They turn around and run away just as they hit the bunker, since they all routed, so we got away with it. Not that we needed the machine gun bunker for this battle, but it was still a close call. So yes, that left a bunch of artillery. They happened to be defended by the trenches, so I had to run up and stand on the trenches to actually get line of sight onto the artillery. Plus we've got reinforcements coming to attack from behind, which will help out. Then once everyone's in position, just a case of waiting for them to actually get on with it. There we go, they start firing at the enemy artillery, and that's pretty much going to take them all out. It was a nice cheeky heroic victory, minimal losses, and the enemy just got annihilated. A few units are still alive, and I did decide we might as well go after them. I've been pretty bad in this campaign about going after defeated armies to finish them off, just because it's always been so dangerous. But in this case I could send some men out to finish off this army. Not that it would have done very much, but in Empire and Napoleon, even Shogun 2, one unit can be annoying because it can destroy the exterior building, so wiping out the enemy armies does have some function. Now, some interesting diplomacy news. We start getting offers of trade deals because we've captured loads of ports in Italy. We now have extra trade routes available, so our allies start picking them up. This doesn't do anything per se because the Italian Navy is blocking every single one of our ports, so we can't actually trade, but they're paying us for the trade rights, so we get some free money basically, and you get line of sight on areas where your trade routes are, even if they're blockaded for some reason, so we get some intel on the Brits and the Russians walking about. Plus, as we saw there, the Italians are very clearly setting up to attack us, so that's what we're probably going to have to deal with next. They've got a decent force here with loads of artillery, they've got machine gun bunkers and plenty of decent enough infantry. It looks like they're going to the left, so they're going to go around the source of that river, so I don't need to bother defending that river crossing. We throw everything into the town. Reinforcement options are limited because we need most of the stuff over by Milan to still be there to keep the German AI switched off because it can't pathfind into our area or whatever. It's just standing there and has been for like a year now. So Torino's going to have to do this on its own, and by the next turn you can see the number of Italians has increased. There are now 3 armies and the town is under siege. So as I said, reinforcement options are going to be limited, so we might as well try and sally out. Going to be difficult though because they do have quite a lot of stuff right here and they're going to be coming from different angles, but we'll do our best anyway. So here's the battle, a very bad balance bar, and they do have machine gun bunkers, which we can only defeat either with our mortar or with a mass charge from our citizenry. We'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. And the enemy's infantry are all far better than ours, so we're going to have to use our own machine gun bunker to exploit our way through the majority of the enemy army, which, as we've seen before, is a perfectly reasonable thing to believe is possible. It certainly can happen. Here is the ending, actually, of my first attempt. The only good thing about this was, if you listen very closely, the guy was like, all hope is lost, and then the game crashed. It was as if the game knew what it was about to do to me. But then I tried it again, and this time we did get a complete playthrough. So I'm not going to hack my way through this one in outrage, since that time the crash was near the beginning. You can see my strategy is to deploy quite close to the enemy to get things going right away, and we can even deploy with our machine gun bunker already in range. Had to micro my mortars because they were too close to our bunker and were causing it to become damaged, that weird glitch we've seen in the past. An enemy general attacked our flank on his own. This is because the enemy's reinforcement army is coming on from the direction of those buildings you can see on the minimap. So they're coming on behind us, but they only had the 1 unit to start with, so their general just died. The general of the initial army is also wandering about over here. I'm microing the machine gun bunker to take him out right now, and while everyone else in his unit dies, he seems to be luckier and survives for a while, but he's not that lucky. Eventually he goes down too. Now I just need to keep the enemy's infantry at bay because they are looking a bit chargy. They might just run at us. On our left flank the situation's a bit dodgy because the men I have here are just worse than the infantry who are attacking, and we don't have enough machine gun time in order to help them out right now. So I'm actually going to run away there and try to keep some of my better units alive for later on and let the conscripts die there instead. Meanwhile, I'm also attacking the enemy's flank with mostly my own trash. Just want to go and take out all of those artillery and try not to get killed by the enemy's bunker. As for the infantry attacking us from the front, we dealt with that easily enough once our bunker finally got round to it, and with that I can now completely fold our left flank so that our bunker is at the front of that flank and can hold off the other units as well. More and more enemy infantry units will appear because one of their reinforcement armies is coming from behind their current position. So here we are a minute later, a whole load more infantry are attacking and we just have to do the same thing. At the same time, our men are now in position to attack the enemy's artillery, but that's going to be easier said than done because so many of my units are the trash militia who probably won't do anything. I was really relying on this 1 unit of rifles, having issues with them as well because the wall in front of them is blocking their line of sight and they're refusing to fire. Just the usual stuff, too much pathfinding madness going on near the walls and the edge of the map. In the town where the enemy's other reinforcements are appearing, looks like they've brought some artillery in to blow up the buildings, but nothing major coming from that direction. You can tell from my formation that I'm ready to receive an army from this direction, but nothing happening yet, and I'm going to send some men to go take out those artillery in the meantime. We've taken out a couple of the main army's artillery units with our attacking rifle squad, but the enemy's bunker is now shooting at them. So now I thought, can I use this trench to just block all of the enemy attacks? Because once the bunker is stuck trying to shoot at 1 unit, the other guys could go and melee it successfully. However, that unit routed, and that really was the end of my flank attack because the citizens can't do anything else, and they routed themselves shortly after this. My men on the front line just need to be told to get back in formation. Aside from that, everything's fine. We've even got some artillery brought up from the enemy's reinforcements who have set up a bit too close, and I can actually snipe them down using my bunker. So that's very handy, going to ensure the longevity of the bunker. As for what most of my army is doing right now, it's just standing there being shot by the enemy artillery, because it's better that the artillery is shooting my infantry in the trenches than the bunker, because of course that means the bunker survives and can just do this against all of the enemy's infantry. So overall, the enemy will be losing much more infantry than us. Here I'm doing a little bit of intense micro by shifting the direction the machine gun bunker is firing in every few seconds to maximize casualties, shooting along a line of enemies. Also, shooting at a spot on the ground that's behind the enemy is generally more effective than shooting in front of where they're about to go, because I guess it means the gun doesn't pitch down too much or anything. There's some of my infantry getting annihilated by the enemy's artillery, but I am now using my mortars against the enemy bunker, so we've started freeing up our ability to go and attack their position. In the town, my men successfully took out that roaming unit of artillery. Over here, something strange is going on. Some enemy men are walking towards us, but not much is happening in terms of fighting. It's because these conscripts have glitched out and we're not allowed to target them, and they're just walking their way across the field. They are non-combatants, we have decided. We'll look into that a bit more in a second. On the front lines, the enemy's infantry are still being turned back by the unit, and generally everything's fine. One advantage we have here is that much of the enemy's second army coming on are conscripts and are easy to rout, so they don't get very close. You kill a few of them and they run away, and then we kill even more as they run. Just need to micro to make sure we're doing it, especially with sneaky little units like those flamethrowers that could walk up to the bunker without getting shot if I wasn't paying attention. They've also got snipers hanging around, so we need to try and take those guys out with the bunker, because they are actually sniping my men in the trenches. Luckily they're only a small unit, so a quick burst of fire takes them out. And we can even do it in situations like this when they're hidden and firing, because if you use the sound of them firing, you can locate them and look for the particle effects. Then the machine gun can shoot in their general direction, and like that, bang, you cannot hide from me. We're able to take out all of the snipers on the field. Now, after everything else has been taken out and routed, the enemy's artillery routed as well, by the way, mostly due to my mortars shooting at them, I finally took out the bunker. The mortars didn't take it out, obviously, but it actually routed when I shot at it with my machine gun, which was curious. You still get the under artillery attack morale debuff for being under machine gun fire, and that was enough, so that's an interesting strategy. Machine gun bunkers can beat other machine gun bunkers. The battle is still going, of course, because the enemy still have a unit on the field. It's that unit of mysterious conscripts which has done the dead reinforcements thing. They've gone to stand in the middle of the map, and now they are there. And I was looking around the edge thinking, is this the problem I think it is? And yes, it is. Part of their unit stuck outside. So this is the exact same thing we saw with machine guns previously. The unit isn't technically in the battle, so it's blocking part of the enemy's reinforcement army. We can't end the battle, and we can't even target those guys, so we can't kill the exposed conscripts while they're deactivated. Although that said, there is one way to target them, using a super secret special Belgian Italy technique. The only thing we have that can attack ground is the bunker. The bunker was just about outside of the range needed to attack the conscripts, so with a lot of effort my men really put their backs into it, and we just pushed the bunker through the earth to get it a little bit closer to those conscripts. Now we can potentially fire at them. This doesn't really help us out, by the way, because just like with the machine gun thing, since you can't really do anything to the unit, it doesn't exist in the game's logic, and that includes not being able to rout it, this battle will never end. There's no way for us to get the victory condition. I just thought I'd show you my attempt. So that goes on for a while, and then this happens. I was playing around with my mortars and noticed you can actually order them to move off the map, and I thought, oh, that could be useful. Maybe the crew could go melee the conscripts off the map to death. But while doing that, they walked across the line of fire of my machine gun bunker and got themselves killed. Or really, I got them killed by giving them orders without thinking about it. And now we can't do that either, so now we can't try and walk off the map to get some sort of exploit win against the enemy's exploits. Therefore, I just quit the battle. It's a close defeat, we have to give them the win. But unlike the previous times we've done this time the game does what I feared the previous times. It auto-resolves some kind of result and just decides that, you know what, we lost 80% of our men. Our army is absolutely decimated due to me just quitting the battle, I guess. If I'd waited the extra half hour, maybe they'd still be alive, but that's pretty annoying. Perhaps less annoying than losing all my men though. So the siege continues. That counts as a defeat. The enemy still have a whole bunch of stuff, possibly too much for the now very minuscule force that we have to take on, because one machine gun bunker on its own can't always tank entire armies. You do need some men to keep the enemy off its flanks and from meleeing it, etc. So we're going to commit to building a new army and wait out the siege timer, hoping they don't assault as the AI tends not to, and we'll try fighting that one again later. While we wait for that, we've got some good news from Naples. Public order is stable with a decent number of my troops outside of the town, so our offensive can now continue. Got a bunch of guys ready to go and attack Sicily. It's a bit of a long way and you can see it's going to take a whole bunch of turns for us to actually get there. And I was feeling a bit impatient. I realised we can do this much faster if we go without the bunker because it has so few movement points. And realistically, we don't need the bunker. We're not facing any actual units, it will just be citizens, so a line of rifle troops and some mortars should still be more than enough. So we'll go for it that way. Now we've got some bad news really. The German army has realised they can just walk past my river defences and attack Milan from the west. At least that's what appears to be happening, because their death ball starts gathering up to go along the route that will allow them to do that. I felt obligated then to commit a lot of the reinforcements bound for Torino to instead just stand on that bridge, because defending Milan is after all more important. Here's the next turn, and our men have now arrived at Sicily. And it was even easier here than I expected. I thought I might have to fight a field battle and annihilate the civilians, but no, we can just auto-resolve them to death, and there we have it. So Italy is really in trouble. Belgium has pretty much everything. Italy is just Venice and Sardinia right now. And notably, Belgium is stronger than it's ever been before. The war has at this stage gone very well for Belgium if we get to keep our territories in the final peace. I also now have a port that's not being constantly blockaded by enemy navies, for now at least, so I can potentially build naval units. We could use those either for taking the trade nodes or for raiding enemy trade, both ways to make money, although both of them aren't really going to be happening because the enemy do have complete water control. As for the German death ball, it's split up and now appears to be going in various different directions, but overall the German AI being active and trying to attack me could be a problem, because while we can hold off the odd 2 or 3 stacks here, 20 stacks might be a problem if they actually commit them to the attack. Now we're running out of time at Torino, so I have to move everything we have available to start marching that way in order to attack the Italians in some fashion before the siege turns into a surrender, so I'm getting on that. The Germans are still advancing. Their AI wasn't just having one turn of activity, they are preparing to attack, but I actually did kind of negate their turn by pulling my troops away from the river crossing east of Milan. I had this theory that if they could go that way, they would. And indeed, lots of their men doubled back on their action from the last turn and basically have now done nothing over the last 2 turns, but some of them are still coming for the western crossing, so it's not a perfect strategy. I ended up moving all of the troops in Milan to go and defend the eastern crossing, because that's where most of the Germans are, and because even if the guys coming over the western bridge besiege the city, they probably won't bother attacking it based on what we've seen so far, and we will have time to go back and take them out either with the men on the eastern bridge, or even with the guys who are going to Torino. We'll go over here, clear everything up, and then go back to stop the Germans. So here's the battle we need to fight. We're basically facing the army that didn't come onto the field in our previous battle with the Italians, and a whole load of these scraps left over from the slaughter. It's nothing too difficult for us, although it is a river crossing battle, an offensive river crossing battle, and in an amazing twist, the AI actually defended the other side of the river. Suddenly my plans are out the window, because of course we can't really attack with our bunkers because they can't cross the river, and the game crashed, making things even harder for me, of course. I did eventually get a complete technical playthrough of this battle, where we're actually going to have to try in an incredible twist, which we'll look at next time.